What's the Met Gala theme this year?
Yeah, I got a job. Yeah. You had a good job.
Yeah. I mean, but it was funny. They walked in.
It's based on Mayor wasn't there. Mayor wasn't there.
You write about this in Network 2 or something?
Yeah.
She went in around. But that one guy.
He did. I was watching it online, and I was kind of shocked.
Yeah. If you were to go to the Met Gala, what would be the theme that you would
All right, done, buddy.
I'm well, sir. How are you?
Doing good.
Call the Broken Arrow City Council meeting to order. We have invocation by Pastor Scott Moore.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you today and are just gracious for the gift of this day and for the opportunity to live and to work and to play in the city of Broken Arrow. We are grateful for our city council, for every city employee who gives of their time and energy to make this such a great place to live. We ask for your wisdom and your grace as we work through this agenda and ask that it would be in every decision that's made tonight. Help us to listen well, to speak with respect, and to lead with integrity. Remind us, Father, that each person in this chamber has a heart for our community and so should be respected. We also ask that you would guide each and every one of us as we just do our best to live life together and to be the kind of people that make up a great community. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. All right, roll call.
Pickle.
Here.
Green.
Here.
Ford.
Here.
Parks.
Here.
Wimpy.
Here. Please stand and join Counselor Pickle for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Attention, salute, pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
There's half of it.
That made our packet a little lighter.
If I
Item-
can,
yes,
Mayor,
yeah.
I know that one council member had a question about the consent agenda item about the Linda Park.
That's on Bama.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna pull it on Bama.
Thank you, though.
Item 7, public hearings, appeals, presentation, recognitions, and awards. 7A, presentation, discussion, and possible acceptance of 24-25 Broken Arrow Youth City Council Big Ideas. Lori Hill.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, Mr. Spurgeon. This is the part I hate. It's when the seniors come up and they present their big idea project. But before I bring them up, part of the program is that they must come up with a big idea project. And if approved, the YCC members recommend that their ideas are considered and discussed by staff and leadership to determine if the changes are feasible with timing, budget, et cetera, with the changes taking effect for the 2025 to 2026 school year. So this will be something that will eventually be implemented by the next YCC class. So at this time, I want to bring them up. We have the Mayor, Sloan Beasy. You can go ahead and come on up. Vice Mayor Ananya Sundaram, Emma Schotten, Andrew Lucas, and Adita Das. And Raga, you want to come up? And then we have two of the seniors that unfortunately could not be here this evening, but I do want to recognize their names, and that's Christian Martin and Luke Beasy. So at this time, I'm going to let them take it over and present their big idea project.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ananya Sundaram. I have had the privilege of serving as the Vice Mayor on our Youth City Council this past year, and we are here to tell you about our big idea. So last year, around this time, the youth city councilors started talking about how we wanted to contribute and give back to our communities. And as we were discussing, we realized that there is a lack of awareness on career paths and jobs available in our local city governments. And you know, when you ask a elementary school child what they want to be when they grow up, we oftentimes hear lawyer, doctor, actor, engineer, something along those lines, but we never quite hear city manager, city planner, or counselor. And we believe this is because of the lack of knowledge available to children of this age group. So, as a collective, we decided that we wanted to write a children's book dedicated to teaching children about these jobs and giving them an idea of all the different paths that are out there. So our book consists of twin siblings, Danny and Olivia, and their pursuit of obtaining a permit to have a lemonade stand on their street. So if Andrew wants to talk more about that.
Yeah, so a couple of the design choices that went into it is I actually came here to City Hall to take a few photos. If you've ever seen any of like the National Geographic kind of books or anything like that, you'll see they're kind of like a nature documentary styles out in the wild, taking photos, demonstrating and showcasing some of those environments. And so I took photos of the different places here in City Hall, and I then sent them on to our design team to let them be worked on a little bit and implemented into the book, and that's where Emma Sean will come in.
Hi, I was so grateful to be the head of the design team on this project, and we decided on a 7.5 by 7.5 book. It will be paperback and spiral bound, and we are using Canva to make it happen right now, and it's being finalized. And I'll go ahead and let...
Moving on to the publishing side of things, we're in the talks with Royal Printing, which is a local publishing company in Broken Arrow. We would also like to thank Vice Mayor Johnny Parks and Councilor Member Green for donating $100 towards the book.
So thank you for all of your support this entire year, all council and city manager and Lori and Mike, who's in there, for all you've done for us this year. This program wouldn't be what it is without your assistance and your guidance. And so we're really excited to get this book out. We're still in the finalization process of it, making sure all of the illustrations and the words and everything is spelled correctly. But once we get that printed out, we would love to give it out to our local public schools and to get that read in classrooms and help YCC become engaged with our public school system. And so, yeah, we're really excited, so thank you for having us. Thank you for being here.
We're excited for this. So,
I do think it's important for me to note that I told the students that they had 5 minutes, Mr. Stevens, and they stayed well within their time limit. In fact, they have 1 minute and 42 seconds left. So if I can ask the Vice Mayor and Councilor Green just to come down here really quick, because they have something they would like to present to you all.
I yield my time back.
yeah, you'll heard that a lot today.
All right, Adita?
We did.
Sorry. This is for Adita.
Thank you.
Emma? Nanya? Do I have to give it to you there? Thank you. Andrew? Oh, Sloan, sorry. Sloan.
Thank you.
And Andrew. So fully expect that we will be seeing them again. Right here. Andrew.
We're getting there.
So one of the things we just gave you guys is a challenge coin, and that is something that you will see a lot throughout military and law enforcement, first responders, those kind of things. And that's something that we use. It's a symbol of unity, it's a symbol of belonging, it's a symbol of camaraderie. And it's there are challenges that go along with it outside of those ranks, but it also usually challenges you to remember what that organization stands for, what you are a part of, what you become a part of. You guys are a part of something that's incredible. Youth City Council is not something that a lot of cities have, and those cities who have it don't have anything like what we got. They don't have the caliber of young people that we have here in Broken Arrow. It's been an honor to work with each of you. We're excited to see where you're going to go in the future. we get to continue to work with you. You'll be a senior here before too long. But it's truly been a pleasure to watch you guys grow and mature, and I'm excited to see where you're going to go and what you're going to continue to do. Thank you for all your hard work that you all have put in, making our program so great. And wow, the big idea, wow. Yeah.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Book.
Yeah. You know, that young people would think about other young people. You know, it's usually adults thinking, you know, we need to bring along a young person, mentor them, but you guys have already got that heart of service, and that's amazing.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you guys.
I might add too that this has been an outstanding group. They know it, but you guys probably don't know this, is that Thursday evening, they will be having their mock city council, where they come down and they go through the same ordeal that we go through.
Ordeal.
We do make it probably a little bit more interesting, but sometimes we have some interesting stuff also. So they will, that's one of the final things you have to do as a youth city council, as a senior, is to have a mock city council. So they will have theirs on Thursday evening. So you guys did a great job.
Do you know how many, Ms. Laura, do you know how many service hours these guys have given in their time in council?
They have a requirement of 10, but many of them have done well over.
They're required to give community service hours back to the community. They're required to keep their grades up. They're required to attend. It's not just a come when you want to come and be involved if you want to be involved. There's actually requirements, and these guys have gone above and beyond. We're proud of you.
Yep.
So, congratulations.
Good job. Good job, guys.
Can't wait to know you all.
Still to say, don't forget your cookie.
No, that's my cookie. That's my snack on Oklahoma City,
is it?
on the way to Oklahoma City tonight.
Oh, I might get into
Giving away my
that.
snack.
All right. Item 7B, discussion to construct traffic calming devices along South Maple Avenue in the Meadows at Indian Springs subdivision in accordance with the traffic calming policy. Zach Smith.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, Mr. Spurgeon, Zach Smith, the Assistant Director of Streets and Stormwater, here to talk about traffic calming devices in the form of a speed hump on South Maple Avenue in the Meadows at Indian Springs subdivision. So to give you a very brief history, the City Council adopted the Traffic Control Manual for Broken Arrow in September of 2015. In that manual contains items like work zone setups, school zones, and also in Section 4, traffic calming. And it advises about what devices shall be used, speed humps, and when those shall be used, and what the criteria is for those to install those speed humps. Inside that criteria, it specifies that your average daily traffic should be over 500 vehicles a day, and 85% of the vehicles should be traveling over 30 miles per hour in the 25 mile per hour zone. So for this particular stretch of roadway, our team did go out and do a traffic analysis. The average daily traffic did not meet the minimum at 81 vehicles, and then the 85% of vehicles were going 29 miles per hour, so it's very close. However, under that policy, it defines a method for the sponsor, who's here tonight, Mr. Kyle Jordan, who's here tonight, to appeal that decision or that criteria to City Council. Mr. Jordan's collected all the signatures for over 75% of the homeowners on this particular block and has asked Council to discuss adding this speed hump.
Would you tell us again what the criteria is and what they come up with?
Yes, 500 vehicles per day and 85% of the vehicles over 30 miles per hour.
And there were 81.
81. However, there's a subdivision being built, Elm Creek, just north of this property. So there's the only vehicles, my understanding is the only vehicles there now are construction traffic and bus traffic.
Okay.
There were, I mean, if you look at the included in your packet was the traffic analysis that we performed. There were 3 vehicles in that day that went between 40 and 49 miles per hour over that particular address.
So I don't understand where they're going. That subdivision's not built up there.
It is complete. There's no homes there now, but
It's
the
complete?
infrastructure is there. The roads
Okay.
are constructed.
Yeah, we're gonna have, yeah. How does this is the first time we've had this where they can come up. Is he just able to come up and appeal or repeal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yes, sir.
Same guidelines.
You're the mayor.
Hello, not used to this. Name's Kyle Jordan. So, yeah, we live at 7408. It was always a dead end. So, they're building a neighborhood. They have asphalt through there. So, there's probably a good stretch of 400 to 500 yards. And we've had even a school bus I called in. And so, it's just very aggravating. I know it's our job to keep our son off the street, but when there's no speed humps, I mean, we have people flying, 40, 50 miles an hour. So I know eventually they're going to put speed humps through there because it's eventually going to be a neighborhood. But right now it's just a straight shot. So I just feel like it's an accident, waiting to happen. Because if you look on Oak, we have 2 stop signs and 2 humps in that same distance. So,
So where are they going? Is it go all the way through to somewhere else, or just go?
yes,
to this?
right here it just shows dirt, but there's asphalt. They're about to
Right.
start.
Is it a through street, or is it
Yes.
just going to the future development?
It's a through street.
To where?
Yeah, it connects up to Oak Avenue on the west side there.
Do we have an actual map of like a mile section so we can put this in perspective of where we are?
I did not prepare one. Yes. This is like south of the one here.
Yeah, this is south of Tucson, north of Jasper, in between Elm and Aspen. So Wood Meadow subdivision, there's like I said, new development going in. It does go north, and then it'll have to tie into an east-west street. It does not go all the way to Tucson, correct?
No.
Yeah, okay.
It does not go to Tucson?
No, it'll have to tie into another east-west street to get out on Tucson.
Are there any other traffic calming speed bumps or anything in that area?
That's what he was just saying. There's some.
Not on that street. So from West Huntsville Street all the way down South Maple to Albuquerque, there's nothing. But like 2 streets over, where it's the same distance, like I said, we have 2 stop signs and 2 speed bumps. But a lot of even my neighbors are taking that route because there's no speed bumps. So they can drive down it. So I know it doesn't look like there's any houses because there's no houses, but it's faster for people in the middle of the neighborhood to just go have a straight shot because they skip a lot of speed bumps and stop signs. So,
Have you reached out to the police department to do some speed enforcement in that area?
I have not. I just, especially with the school bus, and I called in, over 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It just takes one time with my son out there. So, that's the only reason I'm here. If I didn't have a kid, I wouldn't be here. So,
Are you radaring these vehicles?
no, how I got the school bus is because I was outside and I called them because I got the number off the school bus and they said it was going over 40 miles an hour.
Oh, okay.
And that was the
So
second.
that was their device that told you
Yes,
this.
yeah, the bus barn, yes.
Yeah.
So, but
Okay.
I just thought it's, pretty obvious just with all the other streets, speed humps, stop signs, and ours doesn't have any, so,
All the rest of them have speed bumps?
yes, all the other streets do.
I guess a question maybe for Zach or for his group. Do we know what is planned for the development as far as calming? Because once the development's complete, there may be stop signs and speed bumps in there. Do we know that yet?
Rocky
We're kind of
might
putting the cart before the
better than
horse
I,
a
but,
little bit.
Reviewing the plans, I did not see any traffic calming devices in the plans for the subdivision.
And I mean, right now too, we have a lot of construction workers, so they don't live in the neighborhood, so
Right.
they don't care. So,
What's the distance we're looking at here? Just a couple of blocks or just half a mile? Oh, it's about a mile.
I know I pulled it up on Onyx, it was about 400, 450 yards. So, I mean, you can get up on some speed, so.
I think I'd feel a little more comfortable about this, like, once that development goes in, and then we redo the traffic study and see where we are there. I'm not opposed to speed humps, and there has been situations to where, back in the past when I was at the police department, where it didn't meet the criteria, or we'd meet one, it was like at 71st and Olive, people were cutting through the neighborhood to avoid that street light.
Yeah.
And there was like over 500 cars going through there, but they never could get up to that speed because it was a sharp turn. But we were able to get some speed humps in there because of that, but it was already happening. It wasn't like it could happen. So I think I would feel better about it is once that all gets established, if we do the traffic study again and see where we're at.
Okay, well, because we bought the house across the street too, 7409, so it's like I own both properties, and I do have a construction company, so I was like, should I just park a vehicle just to slow someone down, because I know you can move the vehicle, just because I just wanted to slow it down just a little bit.
What may
I mean,
behoove us right now is we have our police chief and majors and captains, we have some of our law enforcement here to put this on their radar and let them go do some speed enforcement, and see if that is beneficial and kind of see if that can help. We can get them this information. And,
Zach, why are they, where are people coming in from? I mean, I know they're not showing the actual streets right now, but
So,
it's just
yeah,
confusing, like, why they would even be going through there, so.
It's because there's no.
I can't
I
answer
would
that.
suspect that they're coming in from the north and going south to bypass the speed bumps on the other side. If there's not a lot there, they can just speed through there. Once the houses are built out, it'll be very similar. So putting traffic calming device through there makes sense, but kind of like what Councilor Ford said, we kind of like to get a little bit further. It's about 1,000 feet from one intersection to the other, so his 400 yards is pretty accurate. By the time you get down to his house, it's about 1,200 feet. That's a pretty long straight stretch. So we can look at controlling it through either stop signs or a speed controlling device.
I was just thinking about just like one, maybe before it even hits our neighborhood, so they can speed down that new construction area, and as soon as they hit where the houses are at, they'll slow down.
But what you'll have to do, you've got a street here, what street is, Maple, is that yours?
Yes, south.
What's the one to the east?
Oak,
Oaks to the west.
Oak to the west.
So it's gonna be, it's gonna be the same. It's about 1,000 feet.
Yeah.
So let us look at that and then we can address it.
Determine if it needs stop signs or speed bumps.
Yeah.
Something
Let
in
the
there.
engineers determine which is going to be.
And typically, stop controlled and that, when a subdivision gets built, that does fall back to us. We take control of that, so we can do that.
I just want to point out real quick that the site plan does show that those two roads going through the north, there is a kink in the road to help slow cars down. That was
So
part
it's
of the
not gonna be a
engineer review
straight shot.
process. But it still doesn't mean that it won't warrant speed bumps in the future.
Okay.
I mean, since you own both houses on each side of the street, honestly, putting a car there will slow the traffic down. I mean, that, until we can, do the traffic study again and see.
Well, the kink in the road's probably where the traffic calming device will end up going.
Yeah,
That
a
will
little
help.
kink, I mean.
Yeah. No, but I mean, that's where we could put a speed hump as well. All right. We can address it.
Okay,
All right, appreciate it.
thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, item 7C, presentation of venue economic development update. Jennifer Rush.
Taking you out. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, City Manager. Very exciting update this evening. I have Mr. Bob Mudd, and he is Vice President of Construction and Expansion for Venue. And he's going to give an update. We've had a great chance to meet today and talk about the progress of the amphitheater being built, and he'll just provide an update for everybody as well.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, and City Manager Spurgeon, thank you all for the time today. I appreciate it. It's been a little bit since I've been here. I'm going to cover a few topics today, including some of the changes that we have made. In fact, we filed a new site plan yesterday that fully incorporates all the changes that I'm going to share here. Many have been discussed already, but there are three primary what I would call enhancements. And we'll remind you by the start of the economic development agreement that we put in place, we were anticipating spending around $74 million on this project. And after I'll walk you through it, I'll share a little bit about where that budget has gone given the enhancements. But there are three primary enhancements that have been made since our original proposal to the council. The first is, and you've probably heard a little bit about it, we have added the Aikman's Owners Club. So in addition to the primary seating in the front, the fire pit suites, we have now added a high-end restaurant and hospitality space for 350 people that also has seating out in front. So that was enhancement number one. Enhancement number two was after doing a lot of study and looking at recent trends in the space, we had originally started with an open-air green at the perimeter of the amphitheater, and has become very popular to move away from that, where there's not space that's specifically designated for a consumer of a concert, and go to bench seating in the rear and provide them dedicated seating. So you've got clear sight lines, and you don't have people competing for space, and it's a little bit more comfortable. So that change was made as well. The more significant change that's in front of planning right now for final approval is that as we looked at our business model over time, we began to consider what would it look like to be able to take this facility from its current design, which would support live music from April to October, to having a facility that could support live entertainment all around the year. And we began a process of really looking all around the world. If you look at soccer stadiums in Europe, you will find some fairly innovative heating capacities that provide for a much better experience when the weather's cool outside. And so we began to design and do some studies. I can tell you that between October and April, it's about 37 to 45 degrees between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. at night. And I know what the humidity levels are, and we know what the winds are. And as a result of that, our architects have come up with a solution that contain 4 very large wind walls, which I'll show you a picture in just a moment, on each side of the amphitheater, in addition to the use of radiant heat. The combination of these two technologies and construction approaches is going to raise the temperature inside for 5,000 seats by about 30 degrees. So it will put you in that 65 to 70 degree range, and by taking the wind away, the feeling to the skin is good. So the impact of that, we believe, is about a 40% increase in the number of tickets sold from our original projection. In the process of doing that, you can see the 4 walls here. There are other attributes that are positive, we believe, to the neighborhood as well. Those walls, while keeping it as an open-air amphitheater, because it's still 50% open, which is required for ingress and egress, it is going to have a significant reduction in the sound that would be leaving the amphitheater. So what we had originally projected in our sound study, we believe this will have a very positive impact as it relates to the neighborhoods, which is a positive thing. One other element that we have frankly wrestled with is we used a structure for the roof that is used by one of the largest amphitheater makers in the United States, and they were recommended to us. And as we got down the path a bit, as I would say in Kentucky, halfway across the creek, we found out that there were some load challenges in the way that it was structured, and we've had to make some pretty substantial engineering changes to include 2 large steel beams and some other changes. So we're in the midst of that, and that has cost us a little bit of time in the process. But at the end of the day, we anticipate being right after the first of the year, but certainly in the April timeframe, where we're going to be able to get this facility open. It will go to a full 12-month programming. And our cost has gone from $74 million to about $107 million. But we're excited about that investment because we believe in the market, and we also believe that these enhancements will go a long way towards the success of this over what is going to be decades of use. And so this is a picture, as you can see it here, of the amphitheater with the wind walls. There were a couple of other changes. We consolidated some buildings for efficiency for the site plan. And then if we could go to the next picture, you can see most people won't recognize any difference. But there's a few of the buildings that are now consolidated up into underneath the infrastructure. And that allows us to service bathrooms and some concessions without having to leave the interior of the building when we're servicing it in winter.
And those sidewalls, you were saying, you guys can utilize those as additional video walls or something
It's really
like that, maybe?
remarkable what's happening in the industry now. If you've seen pictures of the Sphere, but the multimedia experience that can be used when you've got surfaces that are well designed for projection of light are going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So this place is still going to be an amphitheater, which is, from my perspective, the best place in the world to see a concert. It's still covered. We're still going to be able to move air in the summer. Now we're going to be able to heat it in the winter, but with those walls on the side, we'll also be able to expand our capacity for both multimedia experiences and other means of making it a more beautiful place.
Yeah. Well, I've said it a couple of times. We don't have quite the background that you guys have in Colorado Springs with having the Air Force Academy and, Pikes Peak on the other side, but the amphitheater there is amazing because I went up there for the opening, and I'm guessing you guys probably have learned some things and how to improve this a little bit more by opening that one. So,
well, certainly, and one of the things that's happening with our company is we did not go out and build another baseball stadium. Our background was as consumers of live entertainment, not as producers. And so we began to think about things through a different window into the same room. We're creating a building that's going to be a fantastic acoustic experience, but we looked at it through the consumer's lens because that's where our founder has driven so much of this innovation. And so we're excited about it. We are not building it the way other people are building it. We are building amenities in it that people look at us and go, I mean, we're really just trying to sell tickets, right? Well, we want to sell tickets, but we want to be the best place in the world. The place in Colorado Springs was nominated as the Pollstar's best new venue in the world this last year.
Well,
we're standing on their shoulders with new enhancements. So.
Well, I think that's the story behind this, I think, is really important as well. It was literally created for the experience. Like, because when you went to a concert venue, outdoor or whatever, the lack of, the amenities that were there, you guys are wanting to create that positive experience.
We are.
Which is, the story behind it is great.
The most luxurious amphitheaters in the world. That's what we are doing.
Will that year-round activities then be expanded to your other facilities? So the way you move your entertainment around?
So our next to be constructed, we are underway in McKinney, Texas, which is not that far from here. It's a 20,000 person amphitheater, and it is going to be covered and heated. The one that will take all of the learnings here is going to be El Paso. El Paso is 12,500. It's the exact same configuration. It's on a similarly pretty flat lot. They do have the advantage of having some mountains in the back. I didn't until recently know there were mountains in El Paso, but there's some pretty places there. But it's a beautiful location, and we've got two other locations that are just right around the corner here.
Any further discussion or questions of Bob? No?
Well,
all right. Well, thank you,
always
sir.
appreciate the opportunity to come to Broken Arrow. I love this place. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Item D, presentation and discussion of the City of Broken Arrow Police Department's fiscal year 2025 and fiscal year 26 plans to build a real-time information center. Chief Arnold.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilors, and Mr. Spurgeon. It's my pleasure tonight to give you an update on our Real-Time Information Center. And before we do that, it's even a greater pleasure to unveil our new mission and vision that was created by our leadership team at the Police Department. And why that's important is because we at the Police Department view the mission and vision as really our guideposts in everything that we do, what drives how we do it and what we do, and that ties directly into our Real-Time Information Center. I won't read all of that. I know that you guys have seen it, but I did highlight that things like proactive policing, collaboration, transparency, and excellence in our mission and our vision using cutting-edge resources, state-of-the-art facilities, and data-driven practices. And then obviously the last phrases, which is BA is a community that we are proud to serve. So to give you a little bit of background, our initial implementation started in mid-2023 with one major intersection. Where we stand today is an ecosystem that includes 9 separate high-activity locations, most of our city facilities and parks. We have hired our real-time information center manager, which is Tricia Cook, and she's here with us in the audience. She came actually internal to us as our emergency communications supervisor. Tricia has started to create policy and training manuals, and then you all approved most recently the Fuchsia's ecosystem, and we've begun that implementation and now undergoing training. And so that's where we stand today. We have started also to track our real-time information center activity. And so keep in mind that we actually have one employee with the Arctic right now, which is Tricia. And so all of these, as you see calls for service responses, what that really kind of looks like is she's monitoring what's going on in the radio system. And as things are happening in some of these high accident locations or high traffic locations, she's able to look and provide officers with, before they even come on scene, what she's seeing and all of that. The videos processed, those are things like after the fact. If we have a burglary at a location or something, or an accident that's occurred and there's a dispute on exactly what happened in the accident, then she can go back and process that. And then you see the other hits that we've had there. And I must mention too that some of this is when some of the components of the system are down, and also built around just the fact that we continue to have one person working. Tricia, as great as she is, can't work 24 hours a day. So pretty high activity actually for the 6-month period in comparison there. Also to look at like what's going on around the country. So this is the Bureau of Justice Statistics, and it was done in 2020, although released in 2023. But you see there that 3 out of 4 local police departments serving a population similar to ours utilize LPR. And then that number goes up as you increase in population. And then the last piece there, that 67% of those serving that same population similar to us also use fixed site surveillance in public places. And so this is something that, although you may hear on the news in other terms, but it's extremely common. And that was back in 2020. And then kind of where we are planning to go with your will and certainly the support that we have for the city. And so where our plan is to, at a full video out, or at full output, is video coverage in 30 intersections. That includes in each intersection 4 stationary and 1 PTZ camera per intersections, more stationary and mobile cameras for our city facilities and certainly special event locations, partnering with partners like the BA Public Schools, businesses, and our HOAs, which some of those things are already underway. Partnering with our internal city departments like streets with the traffic management solutions. So some of the funding for this has actually come from streets with their intent to build out traffic management solutions that could provide real-time traffic counts and problems that we're having in intersections and all those kinds of things. And then a build out of our staffing plan also with the Arctic. And so as you all know, funding has been set aside currently and in the future potentially from grants from our Quick Trip partners, and then certainly internally with our PSST capital improvement and our sales tax capital improvement as well. And with that, I'll be open to any questions.
All right.
That was definitely, I didn't know if I could make it faster than the student council, city council, but I did, so.
So how would you use it in the HOAs? Like if they're having problems in the neighborhood, you'll just...
Yeah, so one of the common ways that happens is the HOAs actually procure. They have funding sources too, and so they procure the cameras. They actually own the cameras, maintain the cameras, but they feed that into our into Fuchsia's, which is agnostic and can take anything. We can also get that from neighbors that choose to sign up with the existing cameras that they may have. And make those available to us. And again, it's completely voluntary, but the way we've seen with HOAs is they're going out and procuring their own cameras and then feeding those into the police department.
So I wasn't sure if we had like a traveling camera.
No, but that's certainly where the mobile cameras, when we know we're having hot spots or issues somewhere, that we can certainly add those locations as well.
And my other question too is, like, I know Tricia was a communications officer, so when she sees something, she gets on the radio and talks directly to the officer in the field. She doesn't have to go through.
Right. So he has the ability to do both, depending on what it is. But and I've heard her do both. So either she can relay that information back to communication staff, which is right next door to her, or she can actually get on the radio as well. She has both options.
A couple things, Mayor. Yeah, council may recall that the last time we had a discussion about this was approximately September 2 years ago, where we started discussing the importance of having a plan for intersections, license plate readers. And with the new chief, I know the answer to this from what he shared with me, but I'm going to ask him, just to, for those folks who may be watching the meeting that are not familiar, the benefits of having the ability to have this technology for both officer safety as well as helping us with proactiveness in the way we do policing services. So, Chief, could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. We know from the good stories from around the country what's happening. Just our neighbors next door, when I met with Chief Larson, our command staff had the opportunity to meet with Chief Larson in Tulsa and his command staff. Chief Larson told us directly that they attributed their 100% homicide rate last year to their ecosystem of this type of Arctic. And so we know that that's the case. Even internally, whether it be active in real time or something that happened previously, we have had tons of cases that we've solved as a result of that. But even if we're talking about Amber Alerts, missing persons, endangered persons, we've had hits that have been on those. We've had hits that are on violent criminals that are passing through our city. And then certainly we've had after the fact. And so that range that I've heard, even just as I've been on board and listened to the radio, has been everything from things that are violent in nature to things that are a theft, most recently a theft out of someone's backyard, where their own surveillance caught the pickup of the thief, but it didn't catch the license plate. And so we were actually able to then just take that, know the time frame that the theft occurred, look into the system and recover that license plate immediately, almost after the fact that the detective had put out the BOLO, if you will, be on the lookout for that particular case. And so it really runs the gamut. And really, as you see around, and as I've driven around and become more familiar with BA, the places that we do have, especially when we're putting the signs up at our downtown areas where we have the signs. I drove by today across from NSU-BA at the entrance to the trail, and we have signs up there. And so just the fact that we're also putting people on notice, potential criminals, that no, this is under surveillance and we're watching you, and we're watching you in real time. So,
obviously, this is a major investment in not only the way we do policing, but I just want to make sure council's aware is that we're getting into this, and I fully support this. And there's costs associated, in one sense, of providing the purchasing the technology, maintaining the technology, training for the technology. And I think this is, as the chief has shared with me, that this is a great opportunity for our department to take the next level. And you see, he's got a captain and major here that are intricately involved with that. And I fully support what the chief is doing. And I just want to make sure the council members are comfortable that this is the direction that we're going, because we do have an implementation plan, which he talked a little bit about. And he's going to come periodically as we go through this, make sure council's aware exactly where we're at in regard to that implementation.
Yeah. I think it's great that everything that we strive to do here in Broken Arrow, we strive to do with a certain level of excellence. And I'm seeing no less than that from our partners, our law enforcement and first responders here. I know that this has been in the works for a while, and they've worked on it for a long time, and they've researched and they've really put some thought into it, not to just rush into it and get something out, but to put something quality and excellent out. And I appreciate you all's dedication and hard work to continuing to make Broken Arrow one of the safest places to live in the country.
Yeah.
I saw the Chief Larson's comments too from that, and I'm excited. Working in the prisons for 10 years, you know what I mean. I saw so many inmates in there, and anything we can do to help get their lives turned around, possibly even before they get to that level, I'm for it 100%. I have a street in my subdivision. There's only 3 houses on it, and 2 of those people run the stop sign. I mean, they run it at 40 miles an hour. So I'm waiting for you to have a portable one out and put a stop to it. And I even thought about it a while ago when the gentleman was here.
Speed hump.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Instead of a speed bump, have a portable camera out there for a while. So
yes, sir, and that's what I was meaning about the signs. So
yeah.
People know that they're under surveillance, but maybe we could deputize you too, Vice Mayor. Maybe you.
Maybe so. I'll take a picture of it. I have hollered at them, but that hasn't helped any.
Hasn't helped.
So anyway, I'm certainly supportive of your endeavors to do that. It helps us, and helps us get hold of the criminals, if there are any around us. And just those that speed a little bit, And I've heard from the Tulsa about how quickly they've been able to stop someone find them, you know what I mean? And they might be in Okmulgee by that whatever time, and they're still able to know them, get them. So I'm certainly in favor of it.
Preventative policing, yep.
Yeah, I totally support this too. I feel like too, this is a big officer safety issue. If Tricia can see it from, dispatch, what's going on, to be able to relay that, eyes on the whole scene for our officers, that's very important to me too. And then I like the ideas, like we have signs up. So it's like, people used to not come to Broken Arrow because they knew they'd get arrested, and we kind of lost that reputation, but sounds like we're getting it back. Good job, Chief.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Anything else? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Item E, presentation of the status on Rose District parking lot project located at the intersection of West Commercial Street and South Ash Avenue, downtown Broken Arrow. Shannon.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, Mr. Spurgeon. My name is Shannon Marshall. I'm the Special Projects Division Manager. And we do have a presentation. Perfect. We are looking to give a project status update to a new parking lot that's going to be located in the Rose District. This is the corner of Commercial and Ash. And as you can see here, I took this picture a couple weeks ago. It's a beautiful flat corner. There's an existing parking lot that's a private parking lot right next to it. And we're 1 block west of Main Street, kind of the heart of the Rose District here. And what we're proposing is 21 space parking lot here, right off of Commercial Street, with a sidewalk connection back all the way to Main Street. We do have the existing tree, historic catalpa tree, that's on the corner there. And I want to thank Matt Hendren and Phil Hink with the Parks Department, as they got an arborist out there to assess the health of the tree and provide some recommendations for what we can do as construction occurs when we go out for bid. And they had some great recommendations on if any roots are exposed, how to cut them and clean them, and some proposed fertilization to help maintain the health of the tree. But I do want to acknowledge that with any street improvements or anything like that with vegetation construction, there is always a small risk that it would affect the health of that tree, potentially make it die. So we're going to try our best.
It's our first tree planted in our city, so we're going to try not to do that.
Right, that's why we brought some recommendations, but there is always a small risk. A risk, but small.
You know, you're doing real well until then.
Yeah, we were right there with you until the death of the tree, and then we're like,
we're doing the best we can.
Right, we'll do better than the best.
That would be great.
Yes.
That would be great.
But just wanted to make sure everyone was aware that on the next slide you can see we're just trying to relocate the sidewalk there. For ADA, you have to kind of align to where you're going crossing a street, as that is one of the regulations with that. And so it's outside of that fenced area is where the improvements are happening, but it is close.
Could you put that on the other side of the driveway?
No, because
because you have to go into, like,
you have to go across
the street
Ash.
where there's another ramp.
Yep. We're close, but currently not within the drip line of the
She's trying
tree.
not to stress out the tree too much.
Yes.
Well, you are keeping it away from the tree as far as that land is there, so that's good.
Just also an update, the tree's probably doing well because there's a lot of water there. When we did our initial geotech investigation, they saw a high water table. And I'd also want to shout out the utilities department. I know they've done some water line improvements out there, and I asked for their help, and they dug more holes so we could check more water. So thank you to the utilities team out there, and we are looking at adding some French drains to help address any potential high groundwater and try to get that out and away. As you can see, we're squeezing in 21 parking spaces with 1 ADA parking space. What's not visible on this diagram is there's also going to be some additional landscaping, including 2 more street trees along Commercial and some new parking lot lighting as well. So it'll be nicely well lit. That's kind of a project status update. We're wrapping up final design, so if you guys have any comments or questions or anything like that that we can take in, of course, beyond the tree, I'd be happy to hear that.
Actually, the tree looks very healthy. Like, it does not always look that good.
Yeah.
Yes.
It looks very healthy.
Yeah, it does look very healthy.
No, it's definitely needed. I mean, we need more parking in the Rose District, obviously. And I like we just have classy parking lots when the city takes care of it. You know what I mean? It's just good quality. I love that we're going to light it up for sure. And
Will it have the black decorative fencing around it?
Yes,
Like
it
our
will have
others?
black
Okay.
decorative fencing and a couple of landscaping areas.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks,
Looks
y'all.
nice.
Thank you, Shannon. I appreciate council's support on this. Just want to make sure everyone aware that's additional parking. Obviously, we have to contend with not only patrons, but also employees, and anything we can do to make sure the spaces are available for our patrons, excuse me, that's very important. And so periodically, we have to remind folks about this parking along Main Street, but I do know that folks have been making concerted efforts, so some additional parking, I think, would be much helpful for the downtown.
Yeah. All right, item F is presentation and conceptual design options for the Dallas Street improvements from Main Street to 9th Street. Travis?
Good evening, council, mayor, vice mayor, city manager. Nice to be here tonight. Travis Small with the Engineering Construction Department. I'm here to present the conceptual design options for the Dallas from Main Street to 9th conceptual design. So the existing conditions, first of all, back up a step. A couple of months ago, I came up to council and presented to council that we were going to go out for design of the conceptual design for this project. We made a selection. The consultant has gotten their conceptual design turned into us. The existing conditions is just a 2-lane asphalt road. It's got some curb and gutter, but there's also areas with no curb and gutter. It's an open ditch, and there's some fairly significant steep ditches on this particular project. Sidewalks exist the full length on the north side. There are some gaps on the south, and the conditions do vary and the widths do vary. Right now, the traffic volume is approximately 3,000 vehicles a day, which a 2-lane roadway can handle that very easily. Pavement condition ranges from a 37 to a 79 for the PCI index, and a 37 is getting towards the lower end, 79 is getting up towards the higher end. The higher the number, the better. The project currently anticipates including sidewalk work on only the north side. So this slide shows you the first option for the conceptual design, which is a mill and overlay with some patching. Minimal work. All 3 options do include work on the sidewalk on the north side only, as I mentioned previously. But the first option is a mill and overlay with patching. The estimated cost for this project, or this option, is $493,000. Option 2 is a patch, mill, and overlay with some additional drainage work, and that estimated cost is $760,000. And option 3 is a 3-lane roadway where we're actually widening the existing roadway with a substantial amount of drainage work, and that particular cost estimate for that option is $2.5 million.
So the open ditch is going to stay on the north side of the road, is that correct?
It depends on which option that we go with, but on options 1 and 2, yes, sir.
Well, I was hoping they could get rid of that because that is a pretty steep ditch. If any amount of water running down through that is going to eat away at that ditch, is it going to be concreted in, or is it just going to stay a ditch with whatever grass or whatever?
So option 2 does have some additional drainage work included. Option 1 doesn't have any drainage work included, although we could look at it in conjunction with option 1.
I'm just saying that water doesn't take, you know what I mean?
Sure.
A lot of water to run through to go ahead and eat into the ground around there. I still look at this as being one of the main roads into the Rose District, because it's easy to get to the center of the Rose District by coming through here instead of going down Main Street. So I think that it will be, but I'd like to see something done with the ditches. Now, Braden Winch, that area up there, the water that comes through there, does it go across the road and go on the south side, or would it be coming down this way also?
So if you're looking at this particular stretch that's shown up here, it does eventually cross. You can see there at 5th on that lower half of the plan view there, there's some drainage that goes across 5th there, and a lot of that drainage gets intercepted and crosses to the south side. So yes, sir. And there was some recent drainage work that was done by the city about a year ago, I think it was, that increased the capacity of that existing facility. It didn't meet the full design criteria that we have now because the existing structures downtown do not meet that criteria. So we would have to do a substantial amount of work downstream in order for it to do so.
Well, I just know that the driveway on the far south end there, that existing ditch, you can see where it's eating into the driveway, and I think it's going to continually doing that. So I was thinking that we would have some type of underground, you know what I mean, direction for that drainage on that short space there on that north side, because that deep ditch is just going to, and it's hard to get in for people to get in to weed eat or clean if you don't concrete it or put a pipe in there.
So let's see. Right here between 5th Place and 5th Street, this is option 2. I don't believe that's exactly the ditch that you're talking about, but
the one I'm talking about is on the north side of the street.
Right. So from Braden going back to 5th.
Right.
So that one does have some in option 2 and 3, I believe, but the substantial work on that particular ditch, we could include it, and I don't think any of those options does show that in that particular ditch right now, but we could certainly look at it.
Well, it just looks to me like quite a bit of water comes down through it, and I could be wrong. And
Sure.
I just don't want to get in there and fix the road and then have that in a situation that's going to, the water's going to eat it up.
You know, so
Because it gets to be pretty deep.
just a little bit to the west of the drive, the back drive into drive into the park and the backside of Braden. So that is, I know exactly where you're talking about, and we would definitely address it in some shape, form, or fashion. It just really depends on the option that we go with on this, but certainly we can address that.
Okay.
Mayor. So Travis, let me ask you this. My recommendation was going to be something consistent with option number 2. My question is,
Okay.
To me, option number 3 requires an additional right-of-way acquisition. I think it would take away from the ambiance that exists, and especially as you get closer to downtown. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay.
So none of the options that we've projected here, including option 3, show any of the additional costs for right-of-way. So yes, there would be for option 3 specifically. Option 2 will have probably a little bit of drainage easement that would be necessary for us to do some additional work, but not substantial.
So with regard to what the Vice Mayor said, is there a way to do option 2 with the existing drainage, but also try to enclose some of that drainage? The additional cost, obviously, I just want to mention this is a 2018 bond project that the voters approved, and they understood the importance of that thoroughfare in our community. So is there a way to do the road work in option number 2 as well as the drainage, then come back with some additional drainage work consistent with what you're hearing from the Vice Mayor? I'm
Certainly.
sure the other council members may have a similar idea about what he's saying and support that.
Certainly, absolutely. Option 2 is certainly doable. We could then come back and add some additional drainage to option 2 to further improve the situation. Not an issue at all. It's just a matter of how much we want to spend on it, which is not an issue either. But I know that the cost estimate shown there would increase a little bit based upon that additional work.
Well, and my thoughts were not to stay away from option 3. You know what I mean? That'd be nice, but that was very expensive. But I thought option 2, the way the city manager's saying, and at least try to address that. We're not in there trying to redo the bar ditches, because it's hard for the people to get in there and weed eat or anything in that steep of ditch.
Absolutely. We could certainly address all that.
We'd be doing the residents and ourselves a disservice because of the drainage. Of that concept, if council's okay for option 2 with some additional enclosure of the drainage, and that way we can get the design started and move forward with hopefully getting the project out to bid in a reasonable time.
I agree with that.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Need a
Thank
motion,
you.
Trevor, does council need to choose an option, or are we good?
There's, no, sir.
Okay.
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 You got what you need?
Come on.
Yes, sir.
Trevor.
Thank you all.
All right, thank you, Travis. All right, item G, conduct a public hearing regarding the proposed creation of increment district number 6, City of Broken Arrow and Hackberry Market Economic Development Project. Nate Ellis.
Good evening. Well, this is the second public hearing with respect to the Hackberry Market Project Plan. I'll just give you a couple of quick highlights. It's a large retail development by Sooner Investment at Aspen and 121st, just south of the Turnpike, behind the Warren Theater. Contemplates about 211,000 square feet of retail, 5 out parcels, over $97 million capital investment with projected annual sales of about $116.9 million. This is a sales tax only TIF for a 25-year term. It'll capture 2 cents of the 3.55% total city sales tax. And it contemplates an incentive that will go to the developer not to exceed $22 million for site improvements, including water, sewer, street, stormwater, site reclamation and development and landscaping. And the plan is that Beta will actually be asked to issue bonds that would be backed by TIF revenues and also backed by the developer's performance guarantees. The total estimated project costs, including financing costs, would be on the order of $52 million. It's projected the TIF revenues should generate on the order of about $67 or $68 million. That would be the 2 cents worth of sales tax. In addition to that, you'd have another $52 million in non-TIF sales tax that would be coming back to the city, and you'd have about $27.4 million in non-TIF ad valorem tax that would be going to all the taxing entities by virtue of that capital investment. And then you've got on your agenda tonight an ordinance that actually will allow you to consider adopting the project plan and creating TIF number 6, and a resolution that would commence the TIF effective July 1st of this year for a 25-year term. And then if you choose to move forward with that tonight, then the plan is to come back in the next council meeting or two with an economic development agreement and financing plans for final approval. So, public hearing, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, but opportunity for public to speak if interested.
Okay.
You want to sign up to speak?
Not on,
Not on that?
But I'll, is there anyone, I just asked, right? There 3 times, yes.
Oh,
Is there anyone
sorry.
here? Yeah.
I had to fill out a form.
Yeah. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? Is there anyone here to speak on this item? And lastly, is there anyone here to speak on this item? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I can say is that, I mean, I don't need, Nate doesn't need to hear this, but he makes a very complicated subject very understandable, Nate, and I greatly appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Item H is an update on the 2026 general obligation bond package.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Good evening. Had some great topics for discussion and action tonight, and we have a number of more. So, in the essence of time, I just wanted to touch on just a few things. As you know, we have the results of the survey for recreation. We had some good findings, and we're currently working on a public safety survey to get some feedback with regard to the projects that council will consider as a part of your final decision on what will go before the voters on April 7th. So I think that's going to be going out this summer. Secondly, the first letter to all of our citizens by way of the utility bills regarding the status of where we are is now going through all the different cycles. I received mine just a day or two ago with an update, and so the next letter is going to be going out, and I'll mention this later, in the summertime, which will be after the June 18th meeting council is going to have to hear from all the user groups as well as from the administration with regard to where we are with the project, so council can start getting their arms wrapped around about where we're at and what will be presented to the public by way of at least 3 public forums at the end of August and in September. And as you know, for large rooms, so we can have what I call the Oklahoma Department of Transportation style type meetings where the mayor and myself would get up on behalf of the council, say a couple of words, and it's really about going to the stations and folks looking at the projects and putting their priorities on there. once we finalize those dates, we'll let the public know. I'm proud to say the steering committee has had 2 meetings, and they'll be meeting again on our partnerships, which consist of the chamber, the school district, as well as a number of citizens that have agreed to participate in those meetings. We're going through all the projects. Council has their books. We've had some initial discussions to make sure everyone knows exactly what the propositions are. And we're continuing to move forward, and we're just really about 45 days away from the meeting that the council will have all day to hear from everyone about their requests for your consideration. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Item 8 is citizens' opportunity to address the council on general topics related to city business or services. No action may be taken on matters under this item. We have 3 signed up. We'll go from nobody signed up to having 3. Sebastian Stevens.
Didn't even know there was a dog in
I
here.
think he was
Very
ready-
well behaved.
He was ready to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Council members, Manager Spurgeon, Attorney Dennis, and Mr. Green, I want to thank you guys for having me here today. My name is Sebastian Stevens. I'm recently moved to Tulsa from California. I'm originally from Oregon. I came here today just to kind of discuss some things that in trying to learn what the city has to offer and some ways that I could get involved, maybe where I just kind of where I hit roadblocks. And one of those things I found was in a program that I think has like incredible potential, and that is with the city transit. I think that had like it could be really cool. Unfortunately, when I tried to follow the apps through the pamphlet and tried to follow the links to download an app or just to try to get a ride to see how that process went, I kind of hit a roadblock. And even today I came in to try to see if maybe there was somebody that had advice on like what that would look like, or how maybe I was just like, maybe there was an error on my end. Yeah, I think it's a really cool program, and I think that with maybe some assistance, maybe we can make
Yeah.
bring
It's really
it
cool
back
if
to
it
life.
works, so we need to figure that out, I guess. So.
Yeah. Have you guys at all tried to use the app? Have you gone on and booked a ride?
Yeah, we actually did at the end of the year. So.
Yeah. And then you've done it individually, right?
I did I
You
attempted to, and I
attempted to.
had
He's
some
filling your
complications
pain.
as well.
Yeah.
And
And
I've
it-
communicated with MetroLink about it, and they're trying to get it figured out.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
my house is outside the service area, so.
So is mine.
Not big.
So.
And another question, or kind of on to the same topic, I just thought that I feel like there's some opportunities to link with some other organizations in the community. Sorry. Sit. For example, you guys have people that get released from the jail out here, and one of the really great resources that Tulsa area has for people that are coming from being incarcerated and that helps in reducing recidivism is the Justice Link program that's off Archer in downtown Tulsa. If somebody was to need a ride from here to there, I think they would have to transfer probably 3 cars to get there and back. And at least in the early stages of this program, that I understand it to be, it seems like there's maybe some opportunity where I don't know, where there could be programs that, maybe partnerships with Justice Link, where they will, if somebody calls them and needs a ride, instead of them, like I've worked with them, they spent $60 getting me picked up from here and dropped off out there. If Broken Arrow's service was able to do that, even at a different rate, it would probably have cost that. It wouldn't cost $120 to get me there and back. And I think that there's not a lot of resources like that offer such great benefits, and I think to be able to like find a bridge to bridge that gap would be very beneficial.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Well, I can tell you, I appreciate the feedback, because obviously Councilor Green had an issue with dispatching, and obviously we're still in the pilot program, just phase 2, and if we don't know if there's a problem, we can't fix it.
Right.
And so this gives Mr. Hinkle and I an opportunity, and Mr. Schwab, to go in and look at, to see, and probably just redo the downloading of the app and I'll make sure that if we're having challenges that we get those fixed, because I don't want, even though ridership has been up like 300 and some percent just over the, in the first phase or two, if somebody's having a problem, I don't want them to not use it because they have trouble getting on it.
Yeah.
So this is great feedback for us. And as far as partnerships, if those partnerships exist and they benefit the city, then we need to look at them. So I have no issue with actually having our team take a look and see if there's an opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
If you guys don't mind, I have another kind of a concern that I thought I should have been more aware of the time that I had. But as I've been kind of learning some of the services that the city offers, and reviewing the city's budget for this year and reviewing some of the audits that have been done. One question that I have is regarding the company that you guys choose to do an audit with. It's a subscription-based service that, if I understand that to be correct, and that maybe you guys are contracted in. The company's name's changed 3 times in the last 3 years, 5 years. It's stayed similar, but maybe adding partners and whatnot. But just from like preliminary investigation into it, just looking at the address and just trying to see where it's located, I wasn't able to really find where they have a physical location. And further, the audit doesn't name a single person who is a point of contact that you could reach at through any of those audits at all. And I think that with the great funding that the city and the council members are managing, I think it's pretty important to have that bit of accountability, or have somebody that we can talk to if there's any discrepancies.
So did you want the number for the audit company or for someone here at the city to?
There's a number for the audit company, but if you try to call it, or if I try to look up their website, I can't really find a website that matches the same graphics or logos that are on the city audit. So there's just a lot of irregularities, and yeah, that's.
Well, I think he's referring to our OpenGov, which OpenGov is supposed to be the tool that's online that allows you to go in and drill down to look at what's been the approved budget.
That's sorry to interrupt. That's not what I'm looking at. I believe the company. I can't remember its name, but it's a local company out of Tulsa, or maybe out of Muskogee, or Tahlequah, maybe. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing it right, but
that actually audits our books to make sure
that does the city audit. Yeah, I got paper copies of the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Any questions regarding the audit need to be addressed to my team, or basically you can submit those in writing. We'd be glad to answer them, because our auditor is just going to refer you to us.
Okay. And I would love to schedule a meeting with you. I will give you guys back the floor so that you can let somebody else come and have a turn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Jamie Thompson?
Good evening.
Hi there.
I'm a resident of Lancaster Park. I'm a disabled veteran, and you guys have an ordinance that prevents me from being able to park on the level part of my driveway because I have an inclined driveway. So I'm really trying to see if I can get a waiver, because the police have been out to my house 2 or 3 times. I have multiple disabilities, which include degenerative disc disease, radiculopathy in my arms, and neuropathy in my legs. So literally, which is why I stood up. My legs go numb, I could just fall. Yeah. So on the incline where I have to park, since the police have been out to my house, it's a danger for me. So if you guys could consider that. I know it's not something that had to be really considered, because everybody's not parking on the incline and have the disabilities, and I'm not looking for pity parties. I do as much of my own stuff as I can, but that's just not something that I can do on a day-to-day basis, park on that incline and walk up and down to get out of my car. So the police have been out. I've discussed it. I have handicap tags. I even have reasonable accommodations for work. I don't work in the office because I can't walk continuously. So if that's something that you could consider and offer that for me, that would be greatly appreciated, because, yeah, that's really tough for me.
So does your car block the sidewalk? Is that where the flat part is of your driveway, and that's why the officers are coming out?
I lived in at my house for 6 years, and it was just within the last 5 or 6 months that they've started, I guess someone's calling about it. But prior to that, like, nobody bothered me about it.
Sure.
And so, and I never parked on the incline. I've never parked until they started knocking on my door. So it's not like I was parking up there and then I changed. I literally, from the day I moved in, I've always parked on the level part of my driveway because it's easy for me to walk around and then walk up my steps or whatever the case may be. So,
Can you not park, I mean, I don't want to sound mean, but like, can you not park in your driveway or in your garage? Is your garage not flat where you can enter your house?
I have some things that I have for treatment that I have in my garage for my back and massaging and stuff like that. So I can't park in my garage.
Okay. First of all, thank you for your service.
What do they do? What does the police? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You're good.
She's thanking you for your service, which we all
and I appreciate
do
it.
that.
Thank you.
I'm just asking, what did the police tell you when they came out?
So, to their credit, they've not been hateful. They, just asked me to move it up or whatever, and I've discussed the same things I've discussed with you. I even think a representative from the office may even came and put a card on my door one day, and I spoke with her about it as well. And they just told me, obviously, to do what I'm doing is come down and ask for the waiver. The police say that, eventually they're going to have to ticket me if I keep parking down at the bottom. But imagine, my wife has to come pick me up when I fall down the hill. Like, that's really what happens.
Yeah.
So if I lose my legs, she has to come get me from the bottom of the hill. So then, like I said, it's an incline at my house. So,
Trevor, do we have the ability to do a waiver?
Yes, ma'am. You could have some type of change to the ordinance that provides as accepted by ordinance. So something around the nature of if there's a handicap placard or something similar to that nature, council has ability to change the law as they see fit.
Well, I certainly would agree with doing that. I mean,
Taking a look
they
at
need
that.
to have that handicap, proof. But he's told them that, and it's not a question. I mean, I'm sure the police is believing him, and I don't think, I'm just guessing here, Chief, that the police aren't running by to see if he's there. I think that probably you go off of a complaint that some citizen has complained somewhere.
right. They told me that someone has called, and I
Right.
imagine it's been someone who's just moved in there recently. And I'm not, driving the neighborhood trying to see who's doing it, but I do know that prior to, I'd say January, late December at the earliest, nobody ever said anything.
And your neighbor may not know about your issue too. They
Correct.
might just know that you're blocking the sidewalk where they can't walk on the sidewalk.
Correct.
So,
And I don't begrudge anyone. Like I said, I try to keep to myself, so a lot of people don't even know. If I didn't stand right here and tell you, you wouldn't know, because I try to do my thing on my own. So, but yeah, it's just, for me, it's a physical disability, liability that it's either park on the level part or I'm gonna keep falling down the hill.
No, we don't want you to do that.
Do we have his address on
We do.
the form there so we can?
Yep.
Yeah, and the police have it too. They've been to my house probably 4 or 5 times, and they've even asked me, "Have you had a chance to come up here?" Actually, I would have been here a couple of times, but I just couldn't make it those times.
Okay.
I just didn't have the ability to get up. So,
Okay.
Again, Mayor, members of council, Lori Hill and I will get involved with this. We'll get the information from the police department. I need to get a visual on this because I understand but I need to see it.
I have pictures on my phone.
Oh, well, okay. Then we'll make contact and then we'll determine a recommendation, and that could include, as Trevor said, some type of waiver to accommodate this particular situation, because I think that's well deserved. And I'm hearing council's in with something to support as well.
That's what I was going to recommend, that city staff take a look at it and see what we can do to accommodate our constituents.
You want me to send those to you, or you want to take a look now?
I'm actually going to have you send those to the city clerk as a part of your request to speak. If you'll get his email address, you can send those, and we'll have it part of this. And then someone from my office will contact you, and we'll coordinate, have a conversation, and then we'll go forward, and probably either the next meeting or probably the first meeting in June at the latest, have something before the council.
Yes, sir.
Okay? But in the meantime, basically, I'm going to put a stay on any action taken as long as it doesn't create a sight triangle problem. As long as the traffic can see coming both ways, and based on the action council's asked me to consider, I'm going to ask the police department to hold off on any type of enforcement as long as it doesn't create an issue.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, and then Cade Chilco? I think that's right.
Thank y'all so much. Good evening. I'm Cade Chilcote from 198th East Avenue over across from the Scout Ranch. I think Councilman Green is my councilman. And I'm sorry to talk off agenda tonight, but I've been meaning to come here to talk to you about Old County Line Road between 101st and 81st. It's always been kind of rough, but in the last several months we have the cement trucks and 18-wheeler dump trucks riding it all day long, 5 days a week. And now it's just, whew, man, it's a mess. And I'm kind of the mayor of County Line Road. Like my kids are in high school, and I'm always going to high school and work, and I'm just on it all day. And I can tell you, like, it's getting kind of creepy, like driving that busted up old country 2-lane road with those massive construction vehicles. And now that my kids are starting to drive, like it's really starting to freak me out. And I feel like for all that heavy construction we're doing in South BA, I just feel like we need a good road. Yeah. So I just want to ask, like what's the plan with that stretch of county line, and is there a reason why we can't maybe think about accelerating the timeline while I'm still alive?
Right.
Okay, so, and thank you for the question, and I appreciate you coming, the council members. So, you heard me talk a little earlier about the 2026 general obligation bond package. The engineering and construction department has put together a list of roads for the council to consider to put before the voters in April of next year. Within the top 15 roads, 20 at the most, that 2-mile stretch of County Line Road is in those roads council is going to look at. Now, obviously, there's going to be a cut line because the transportation portion can only be so much of this total package, okay? But I do know that if council actually includes those 2 roads, and what we're waiting on this summer, the council hired a transportation management firm to go out to do data on traffic counts. And as you know, on that 2-mile stretch, most of the side on the east side of it, there's not any turning movements. The west side of the road going south, there's not a lot of turning movements, especially in the 81st and 91st area.
You mean it's a straight shot?
A straight shot.
Yeah.
So whether there's a need for a turn lane or just a widening to cover the shoulders, we have to get our traffic management team to determine what type of improvements need to be made in those 2 miles, okay? But I think those 2 miles, with all the growth that's happening in the south, the amphitheater that's coming, those deserve to be in the top 15 for council to consider.
Great.
Now, if council does include those, it could take several years because we have to go off of priorities on traffic counts and what council believes need to be done for the first couple of years of the bond package. So what will happen is that I will get Mr. Schwab, our assistant city manager, and our Tim Wilson, our street super director. And what we'll do is we'll go in and we'll probably mill and overlay some of those areas to take out some of the roughness, because I've noticed it as well. And that's going to need to be done in the interim until such time as we could actually do exactly what the engineer says, what the voters approve. So it's going to be that way for a little bit longer, but once I know if council is going to put in the package, then we can start putting in our plans to actually to do the mill and overlay temporarily until we could actually do the full-blown upgrades of the road themselves.
That sounds great. What do you think the time frame is on just the mill and overlay?
I wouldn't say this year, in this particular year, but I'm going to have Mr. Wilson go out and look, because I know there's a couple of areas, especially in the 91st to 101st now, that I've noticed, because we went in a couple of years ago just south of the railroad tracks and did a major mill and overlay, and that's working really well. But there's a couple of areas that I've noticed that need to be done, and so I can talk to him and see if that's something we could get done between now and the end of the year.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
That would be amazing.
But what's most important is to come to the public meetings that council is going to have and put those as a high priority, because obviously the input from the public is going to be extremely important. When you may be only to do 15 roads, but there's 20 that need to be done, council needs that input to determine what roads need to be in that bond package in April of next year.
So when should I inform the residents of the area to come?
What I would suggest you do is I'll get your information from the city clerk, and then I'll give you a call, and we'll talk, and then I'll make sure we communicate, and when I have a better idea, I can let you know, and as the mayor of that area, you can share that with me.
You and your city councilor can get the word out.
Thank you.
I'll share with this mayor, and she can share that with you. How about that?
You still got me on rank.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you for
Council
your time.
recognizes it, staff recognizes it. It's just a matter of, we need a long-term fix, but we do know if there's a short-term something we have street maintenance fund that can actually do it temporarily until we can get to the bond project.
Oh, that's
Okay.
wonderful. Yeah, anything helps.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Item 9, general council business. 9A, consideration, discussion, and possible award of the lowest bid to PCC Sports for the construction of the Nienhuis football synthetic turf fields. Charlie Bright.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, Mr. Spurgeon. So this is our turf fields out at Nienhuis Sports, Nienhuis Park, the complex out there. As you guys know, we got 4 football fields. 2 of them are turf already, and 2 of them are grass, and the 2018 general obligation bond voted to turf the other 2 fields, so all 4 would be turf. I'm actually going to stand here before you tonight and ask that you table the item or take no action. We received bids last week, and due to agenda timelines and everything else to get it on the agenda, I put it on the agenda with anticipation of award. But as you guys know, we do a lot of due diligence and follow-up after we get our awards. We've had some things we're kind of concerned about that we've found in the due diligence, so we're not really comfortable at this point saying we want to award to the low bidder. I'm not saying we don't, but we want some more time to think about it. So I'd ask that you guys just take no action or table the item till the next meeting.
I'll second it. Since Councilor Green mentioned it.
Be sure and keep in mind football season's coming.
What's that?
Be sure and keep in mind that football season's coming.
I know. Well, and that's one reason we were trying to get it tonight, because we want them to be working quickly, but we want to make sure we got somebody that can do the work.
For sure.
Yeah.
So.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Second.
Roll call.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to skip item B for now. We'll come back to it. Item C, consideration, discussion, and possible approval to award the lowest bid to Scissortail Construction for the renovation of the public safety complex. Shannon.
Sorry. I thought you were going to go B. Okay. Good evening again, everybody. I'm Shannon Marshall, Special Projects Division Manager. The item before you is to consider possibly awarding the lowest responsible bidder to Scissortail Construction. This would be for a renovation project as part of the 2014 GO bond to make improvements to the back annex building of the public safety complex in order to provide an area for the EMS division under the fire department to increase their storage capacity and be able to restock the ambulances with medical supplies. The facility is about 10,332 square feet. The lowest bid came in at $939,153.28, and so city staff is recommending to award it to Scissortail Construction. And if you have any questions or any comments, I'm here to answer them.
Any questions or discussion?
No, I'm glad to see, 2014, I'm glad to see it done and move forward for sure, and I'm sure Chief Moore is as well.
You shouldn't have mentioned that. The city manager will kind of break out in a sweat when you go back that many years for a bond issue.
Yep. He's knocking them out. He's getting closer.
I'll make a motion, we approve the request.
A motion and a second. Roll call. All right, item D, is that right? Yep. Consideration, discussion, and possible approval for securing lobbying services for the city of Broken Arrow for state and federal legislative matters.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of council, as you know, a couple of months ago, I came before you I was thinking the same thing, and a couple of council members were having concurrent thoughts about the need to reestablish services. the mayor and Councilor Ford served as a subcommittee to actually talk about duties, responsibilities, and we actually spoke to 3 individuals about their interest. And based on that discussion that I've had with the 2 council members, I want to share tonight that on behalf of the mayor and Councilor Ford, we believe that the services should be reestablished by way of a contract, and that should be done sometime in the foreseeable future. That contract would include deliverables, expectations, guidelines for what services they provide, what we would compensate them for the services they would be providing for us, and then the decision would be made on who that person would be. But really, after months of reflection upon this and engagement, we feel that's the best action to take, and I wanted to open that up for discussion with the 2 members of the subcommittee with the council, and then I would ask for some direction.
Well, and part of the discussion was, obviously, our council is very legislatively active, with both of you all serving on the legislative committee at the Oklahoma Municipal League level. But we all have really great relationships, especially Lisa. She's married to one. But things are busy, and there's a lot of bills, and we don't always necessarily agree with what OML's stance is on things. So it did make sense to start looking at that again. And we had really great interviews. All 3 were outstanding. So I don't know, Lisa?
Well, I feel like it's important to have someone at the Capitol to have our voice and what Broken Arrow needs, not what the Broken Arrow area needs, but what we need. And I see a lot of benefit to that. There's a lot of bills, as you all know, at the beginning of session, and there's no way, well, I mean, I don't know, you may be overachievers. There's no way I can go through all of those bills and know what they mean and know what it means for our city. So I just feel like we need a professional, but that's what they do for a living, to go through all of that and then let us know, like, when we may need to be at the Capitol at a committee meeting, or who we need to reach out to who may be pushing back on something that may be beneficial to our city. And I just feel like it's very important to have someone very well connected, and to the state and federal, to direct us and get us in
Well,
that direction.
especially when there's legislators that have maybe never served on a municipal level, and they're having lobbyists come at them from both sides, right, on a bill. It's good to have someone that's going to, like you said, advocate for our needs, because there's a bill right now for planning and zoning changes that would take local control away. Well, we know what's best for our city and what developers need to be doing in our city, not the state legislator. So if someone's not advocating on our behalf, then, which, by the way, the bill is coming up, I think, tomorrow. And so, and you should all vote no. Anyway, so that's just a side note. Anyway, so, I don't know. Anyone else?
Well, it's also important not only to watch for bills that are coming down the pike, but if we have something that we want pushed, that they can advocate on our behalf. And getting that bill to the place where it needs to go, so that we can get the benefit back for our city.
Well, if council's in agreement by way of contract, then what I would recommend as next step is for the subcommittee and myself to get together, make a final decision on the person, and then come back to the council later this month or as soon as practicable with the proposed contract with that individual to provide the services.
Did the committee feel like that it would be a full-time position or a part-time position as far as hours, a year, or if they're in session, or what? Did we look at
I
that?
think we felt like it was a contract, so like it would be, because there's going to be also work when they're not in session. The person needs to be in session every day for the 4 months that the Senate and the House is in session, definitely. But then there also may be some interim studies that we may want to, try to get someone to run for us. Or that's kind of where a lot of stuff happens too, like creating the bills and that type of thing. So not a full-time in the sense of like being a city employee where they get benefits, holidays, and that type of thing, but more like contract labor. So like when we need something or something comes up, we'll have them under contract.
It would be year-round type.
That's how I'm envisioning.
Well, I'm not a very good lobbyist. I've been on the council a long time, and there's a little bit of difference. I can tell people what I want, and I'm one that I vote the way that I feel like is right. And sometimes it's difficult to persuade people you know what I mean?
They're not
The
aware.
other voters, right. Yeah, to persuade them to think the way that I think and look. So I think it's a good idea. You know, I really do. Not that we wouldn't do that, but it would actually help us, direct us, give us the contact, you know what I mean, that we really have the need. So I would expect them to be able to do that also.
Vice Mayor, I answer your question. It would be a 12-month contract. For the very reasons that Councilor Ford just said, is there's going to
Okay.
be a need for certain relations and engagement outside of the legislative session. Obviously, having some government relations to be able to help in other areas, because in one sense, this person is, in terms of the policy, is an extension of the positions of the governing body. As you know, there were a couple of times this year that council took positions on a couple of different bills respectively, and I see that continuing to happen. And if in fact you have someone that is at the state capitol, for example, that may be even more necessary, especially with, as the mayor mentioned, this year there's been a lot of legislation. Council members have been there multiple times. There's probably going to be a need to more have an update on SB 701, for example. But I do know is that Broken Arrow is recognized as having legislators. I did find this out is they're recognized as having individually and collectively of having legislatures that are very engaged, which the Council Board has said this multiple times. It's a little more difficult when you're actually sitting in that committee room, when you know that you're going to be there. Having someone tracking what's going on, knowing when to be there, says a lot. Especially when, within reason, most of you could rearrange your schedule with a little bit of notice to be able to be down there, and that's very powerful. I saw that today, actually, and I saw it last week when we were with the Broken Arrow Chambers event. The importance of actually being there, and so. If everyone's okay by way of a contract, then let the committee come back with a recommendation and a name and a proposed agreement.
Yeah,
Make
and
that
we
motion.
did talk about federal and state level both.
Yes.
Well, and I also want to say, I appreciate, and I've seen it more this year, but our directors being involved and being aware and lobbying on our behalf as well,
Yes.
and being very much aware of what's going on, so.
Well, the talking points is something that we discussed a lot, and that was evident today when talking points were given as late as today, but previously when legislators on 701 were actually making comments from talking points that were provided from Broken Arrow was very, very helpful to hear that. And that just tells you the engagement we have with our legislature, and I think it's important. So the directors are all commenting on the bills. Lori sends those out, and we'll continue to do that because the lobbyist is not going to be here every single day and be boots on the ground in Broken Arrow. So they're going to need us to be able to make sure they know what is the concerns or what the positives are, so they can go out and they can advocate on our behalf in that regard.
I second the motion.
Motion and a second.
Can you clarify the motion, please?
The motion is going to be to go ahead and have staff go ahead and proceed forward with the plan of securing a lobbyist.
And the second was seconding it. I thought maybe he needed help.
Yeah.
Roll call.
Glad you clarified that.
All right, item 10 is preview ordinances. 10A, consideration, discussion, and possible preview of an ordinance closing an easement from Anthem Church on property located 1/3 mile north of Houston, 1/4 mile east of Garnett. Rocky.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, Rocky Hinkle, Community Development Director. The property owner, Anthem Church Incorporated, has submitted an application requesting the closure of 21-foot wide easement on property located approximately 1 mile north of Houston Street and 1/4 mile east of Garnett. The property is developed as Anthem Church. The applicant has verified that the easement is not currently in use and has been replaced by a new easement which was filed in December of 2024. Staff recommends you preview the ordinance and set it for adoption.
Any discussion or questions?
So move.
Second?
A motion and a second. Roll call.
Thank you.
Item B is consideration, discussion, and possible preview of an ordinance approving the new Broken Arrow zoning ordinance. Amanda.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, Mr. Spurgeon.
Good evening.
Been before you a couple times on this, so we are ready to present our full ordinance for you to consider for preview ordinance this evening. I have a slideshow to kind of go through several things that you've already talked about, but just kind of to refresh your memory on some things. So we started this project back in 2020 in November. Don't know why I made all these individual. We don't need to talk through all of them. But going through the process, several stakeholder advisory committee meetings, we've been before you several times throughout the years. Most recently, we were tasked with working with the demographic study to make sure that everything aligned properly. That has been accomplished. You guys have adopted the housing and demographic study. So now we're ready to move forward with the zoning ordinance. Zoning ordinances are a regulating document for the city of Broken Arrow. It's kind of the nuts and bolts of how everything fits together. Some of the things I wanted to talk through were the big changes between what is in our current zoning ordinance, which was approved in 2008, and what's coming before you now. We're mostly looking at a consolidation of our single-family residential districts. We currently have 6. We're going down to 3. The next couple slides will go over those districts. Combining our mixed-use districts into one, and then there's no significant changes as far as the commercial and industrial districts. The zoning districts, which you're aware is the biggest change to the zoning ordinance. So the RS district, which is our largest proposed district, would consolidate all of our districts from RE residential estate to the RS1 single family residential. This would be your standard typical subdivision that you would see within Broken Arrow. Lot size width of 50 feet, lot size is 6,500 square feet. This encompasses the majority of lots within Broken Arrow that are kind of the standard development that you would see. RSC, Single Family Residential Compact, is a slightly smaller residential district. This encompasses everything from RS2 to RS3 in the current zoning ordinance, including those R2 and R3 districts, which are inactive. But this is a smaller lot size, 50-foot frontage with approximately 5,000 square foot lot area, standard 5 and 5 setbacks, standard building heights that haven't changed from the current zoning ordinance. The biggest change is the RSP district. This would replace the RS4 single-family zoning district. This has significantly smaller lots, minimum of 35-foot frontage and down to 3,500 square foot of lot area. Again, the building heights, setbacks all stay relatively the same. We're just looking at much smaller districts. With the RSP districts comes requirements for buffer yards and zoning. Buffer yards along development. I'll kind of go through that. So transitions to existing subdivisions. So where this RSP development would abut a non-RSP district, any other district, they'd be required to provide buffer yards as shown below. So if the lots in width in the RSP were equal to the abutting subdivision, there would be no required buffer yard. So if they were to match the RS2 district that they were abutting, no requirement there. If between 5 and 20 lots were to abut with the smaller widths, an existing single-family residential, they would be required to have at least a 35-foot landscape buffer. If that's 21 or more lots existing as single-family residential subdivision, that would be increased to a 50-foot buffer. So the idea with that was yes, we're allowing smaller lots, we're allowing different types of developments to go in, but we're also adding that protection to existing neighborhoods. This is one of the things we started seeing with PUDs, adding those buffers to protect neighbors from smaller lots encroaching on their space. Within that landscape buffer area, we have requirements for number of trees, number of shrubs, all of those types of things. So it's not just an open space, it is an actual landscaped area. The landscape buffer would be permitted to be used as like a trail. It's not a requirement that they do that, but that would be one of the amenities that would be allowed within these subdivisions. Another bigger change, accessory dwelling units. This is something that we've permitted since 2019 in the downtown residential overlay. It's something that our residents have really enjoyed having the opportunity to do. So what this zoning ordinance does is allow accessory dwelling units on all single-family residential lots within the city of Broken Arrow. There are requirements on the sizes, setbacks, heights, all of those types of things, similar to what we have in the downtown right now. Not every lot would qualify just based on setbacks and square footage, lot coverage, all of those types of things, but it would be an option that's available. There are private covenants within some developments that would restrict this, but citywide it would be permitted, so it'd be up to those HOAs to enforce that. So the maximum size of an ADU would be 1,200 square feet, which we felt like was a decent size, kind of 2-bedroom accessory unit. We do want it to be located behind the primary structure, so it is accessory. They would need to share the same address, same utilities, all of those types of things. That is to discourage them from being lot split off in the future. On the parking, overall in the zoning ordinance, you'll see a reduction in parking spaces required for different businesses. In talking with our consultants and with our developers, they really know what their criteria is for parking better than we do. So we do have a minimum required parking for each use. Generally speaking, those are reduced. For example, for multifamily, currently it's 2 parking spaces required per unit no matter what. The new zoning ordinance takes into account the number of 1-bedroom units or 2-bedroom units and allows reductions in parking based on that. We also have more parking alternatives in the new zoning ordinance. Shared parking agreements, off-site parking is an option for things like the amphitheater. Sure. So there's criteria in there for that. There's also the option for a parking study. So if the applicant comes forward and said, hey, I have this unique business that requires more parking than usual or less parking than usual, they have the ability to provide us with a parking study and justify, either more or less parking based on that. Okay. So it gives us a lot more flexibility. Those are the high points. I know I went through it very quickly. We've talked about it several times. As always, the full ordinance is available on the website for you to view at any time. I think there was a link in your staff report. Did you guys have any specific questions?
Yeah, are you prepared if the State Bill 647 doesn't pass? Like, we've got to change our entire zoning process.
Yeah.
Are you guys prepared for that?
Yeah,
There's that.
There's that.
If the state takes our local control away.
When we get there.
Yeah.
But one thing I did want to bring up, we did preview this, or went to public hearing with the Planning Commission last 2 weeks ago, I guess. Planning Commission did have a little bit of discussion on whether they should include a requirement for, on the side yards for the RS, which is the larger lot option, to go back to requiring a 5-foot and a 10-foot side yard rather than the 5 and 5, which has been recommended. The reason staff put in the 5 and 5 was the majority of PUDs that come through does request that 5 and 5 for the larger lot subdivisions. It allows more flexibility for the builders. As you know, the price of land goes up. Every square foot becomes 5, but Planning Commission did want to bring that up for a topic of discussion and wanted you guys to know that that was one of the concerns they had and let you guys kind of vet that out.
I have a quick question on the accessory dwelling unit.
Yes.
Is that, 2 things pop into my head when it comes to that is one, I think in the past we've seen a lot of people that are wanting to have mom come and live with them.
Correct.
But also, does that include where, hey, I want to build an Airbnb as an accessory unit? Does that include both of those, or?
Yes, so an accessory unit could be built for any purpose. So it could be, to rent it out to a college student. It could be for mom and dad to come live with you. It could be if you have a disabled child that wants to live independently but still be close by, that would be an option. It would also be an option to rent it out as an Airbnb. They would need to go through the permitting process like any other Airbnb would. Currently, and in the new zoning ordinance, we have the 300-foot separation requirement for all Airbnbs that are located outside of the downtown area. Mm-hmm. So all of those regulations would still apply to any accessory dwelling unit.
Okay, great. Thank you.
This would do away with a lot of the PUDs, because we've talked about this before, is because things that you've done or we've done, and actually some of the developers are already looking at doing this, and we haven't passed it yet. Although we spent enough time on it, they all kind of familiar with it. But there won't be there will be a lot less PUDs in this now, which will help, I think, everybody in it.
Yeah.
So I'm for it. In fact, I'll mark it off my list. I was going to ask one of the two of you tonight where we were at with this, so I won't do that now since I know where we're at. But I think it's good. You know, people say, well, they don't like a smaller lot. Well, they can, you know what I mean, they can get a bigger lot if they want to. I just feel like that the developing community needs some guidelines also.
Yeah.
And our representatives that come in and looked at it, that was one of the first things they said, is that the public wants smaller lots now, so we'll see whether they like them or not. Personally, I would prefer the 10 and 5 lot. I don't know, was the planning commission unanimous on that?
There was two that were adamantly that they really liked the 5 and 10. The other three really didn't state a strong opinion either way. Staff could honestly go either way, just from the development community. One of the things that we did when we first started this was go through all the PUDs that we've had over the years, because we have a lot. So we looked at what are the things that applicants are requesting with these PUDs, and let's try to incorporate those as much as we can into the zoning ordinance. But, you know, also same thing with like the buffer yards protecting. Yes, you want smaller lots. So if you're going to do that, you give us something in return, us being the community, not planning. So 5 and 5 side yards are something that's often requested. We've started seeing requests for even smaller. We have, you know, some 9 and 1s, some 0s and 5s. Those have their own merits for different projects.
I just prefer the 10 and 5, and I vote either way. You know what I mean? The 5 and 5 is fine with me. It's just I go back to the old days when I had to work, used to, and sometimes you need to get into a backyard. And 5 foot, then, you know, a motorcycle will barely get back in a 5 foot yard.
Yeah.
No little trailers. We have a law now that if you have a trailer, it's got to be behind the front of the house. Well, your trailer's going to have to be narrower than 5 foot, or you can't get it beside your.
That was one of the concerns of the commissioners, was from a maintenance perspective, like where would you put a ladder, you know, if you need
Exactly.
A lawnmower.
or the air conditioning unit, or.
I have a lot of people in our neighborhood that park their trailers out front, and I've kind of told them, I haven't told the staff yet, we need somebody to go through and look. But all they need to do is move it behind
You're
their
on notice.
property, move it behind their house building line. So I would and I would vote either way on it, but that's the only thing that I have on it, is that I would prefer a 10 and 5.
I think definitely when you're talking about the smaller lots, I go to our Parks and Rec survey, and that a lot of people are wanting to get out. And I think they're not necessarily wanting to spend that time maintaining a lot.
Right.
They would rather be out doing things with their family.
Right.
And I think that's very appealing to people moving to Broken Arrow, so I like to see that.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of that in the downtown. If you've noticed, we have more single-family attached or townhome style. I think there is, from our demographic study, people are wanting options in housing. Not everybody wants a lot of yard maintenance.
Yep.
We're seeing that throughout the city. There's definitely still the people that want it, and we want to have options available. But allowing the smaller lots does give us some options for those townhome style developments. Also, the accessory dwelling units gives options for people
I
as
like
well.
that accessory dwelling, you know, as long as it is compatible with the building there. And I'll assure you that's going to be on a larger lot, you know what I mean? So it means they're going to have a larger lot than the accessory building. So I'm pleased to have this before us tonight.
Are you thinking about something for in the future for you?
That'd be good for me. It's for my boy's house, and then that for me.
All right. So action to be taken, we're just setting for adoption.
So on the
So-
10 and 5, do we need to make a decision on that?
You're
Yes.
talking about the windmill, power wind? I'm drawing. a
Wind
blank.
turbine.
Turbines, yes.
Yeah.
Did you want to bring that up?
With this? Do we need?
You mentioned, you might want to bring it up to see if it's something we need to do as to an amendment to the ordinance zoning.
We don't have an ordinance for wind turbine, is that right?
We don't have anything specific for wind turbines, no. We have something vague under
Yes.
facilities, whether they're considered
Okay.
minor or major.
And we're going to look at,
Yes, I'm working with Trevor
Yes.
on
yeah,
Just real quick, the mayor's asked for us to look at wind turbines to be a part of our zoning code. Anytime a council member is asked for something like that, then what'll happen is we'll do the research and we'll bring it to council. Council will give direction. If you say we're gonna look at it, then it would go to the planning commission for them to review, then eventually come back to the governing body.
Okay, so I'm certainly in favor of this, but again, I go with the 5 and 5, but I prefer the 10-5. Whatever you guys think. The lot will be smaller if it's a 5 and 5. So,
It won't change the required street frontage or the required
No.
lot size. What it'll essentially do is reduce the size of house that could go on said lot.
exactly.
the width of the house.
I think we need to
Yeah.
change the law and let them park trailers in the front if they can't get them.
No,
No, I'm just using that as a lobby. That's what a lobbyist does.
We're just here
we're
to
not gonna
serve.
hire you for a lobbyist.
Yeah, you weren't on our list.
Yes, and if you could, no matter which direction you go, if you could specify if that's for the RS district or RSC or RSP, all of them, none of them, one or the other, just so we can make that change in the ordinance before it came to you for a final ordinance adoption.
What did the planning commission? what was
They
theirs?
recommended the RS district, this is the straight single family, that's the largest lot size.
Okay,
Once you get to the smaller lot sizes, it gets really hard to add 10 feet of.
Right,
Right.
understand.
I
Well,
tend
I'd
to
like to see it
agree.
in the RS district then.
yeah.
The 5 and 10. I'll second that.
And along with that is a motion to approve this.
This is preview.
Preview.
Oh, well, approve the
Preview.
preview of it.
We'll make the change when it comes for adoption.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to ordinances.
We need the vote.
Just kidding, we're gonna vote first.
Yeah, set it for adoption.
Just really ready to go on. We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Tried to make one and they said no.
Thank you, Curtis.
Give me permission to approve it.
Yes. All right, for ordinances, 11A, consideration, discussion, and possible adoption of ordinance number 3860. Rocky.
Good evening again, Madam Mayor. The item before you tonight is the property owner's Heritage BA has submitted an application requesting the closure of a 25-foot wide utility and detention easement on property located approximately 1/8 mile east of Evans Road and north of Kenosha Street. The property is currently in the process of being platted as Heritage United. Staff has reviewed the documents and recommends acceptance of the utility and drainage easement closure. Ordinance number 3860 was previewed on April 15th, 2025. Staff recommends you adopt ordinance number 3860 and approve the subsequent emergency clause.
I'll make the motion to adopt.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call.
I was waiting for someone to discuss. It sounded like they were discussing.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I make a motion, we approve the emergency.
I have a motion and a second.
Second.
All right, item 11C, consideration, discussion, and possible adoption of ordinance number 3875. Nate Ellis? I'll let you read it.
That's a lot of words.
So many words.
Many words, yes.
Many words.
So this is the ordinance that actually adopts the Hackberry Market Project Plan, would create tax increment district number 6, and includes all the parameters related thereto. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions?
That motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. Entertain a motion for the emergency clause.
So move.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. All right, we'll go back to item 9B. Consideration and discussion of possible approval and execution of Resolution 1654. Nate.
And this is slightly different from what we've done in the past, but this is actually a resolution that will commence the TIF district at a later date as opposed to starting it today. It'll start July 1st, but again, we anticipate the project moving forward pretty rapidly.
Okay.
You said instead of starting today, it starts July 1st?
Correct. Yeah, for a 25-year term.
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. All right, item E, consideration, discussion, and possible adoption of ordinance number, thank you, Nate, number 3876, an ordinance amending the Broken Arrow Code of Ordinances, Chapter 12. Trevor.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Mr. Schubert requested that I present this for him as he's not here tonight. Basically, this just amends the ordinance governing the right to engage in business of collecting and hauling in the city of Broken Arrow. It just sets the fee will be set by the manual fees instead of by ordinance. It also requires that the reports be submitted by August 20th of each year for the total solid waste removed and the recycling removed. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh, but there is a gentleman in the audience that looks like Mr. Schubert, and so I was like, what do you mean he's in the audience?
He does.
He does, doesn't he?
I thought
Sorry,
that's who it was.
I know, sorry. Anyway, any questions or concerns? Okay, entertain a motion to.
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
Entertain a motion for the emergency clause.
Motion to approve the emergency clause?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call. All right.
Councilor, right? There you go.
Got it?
Yep.
All right, remarks and inquiries by governing body members. We've got a lot of fun stuff coming up. Friday starts the Rooster Days Rodeo. Saturday being the exceptional rodeo, which is from 12 to 2, which will be amazing. Hopefully everyone comes out for that. But Saturday morning, the Ruck-Off, the third annual Ruck-Off, is at 7 a.m. The DFW will have a pancake breakfast there at the Veterans Center as well. The next week, we have the Rooster Days kicking off and the parade, which Lori Lewis and I will be the moderators for the parade again this year. Looking forward to that. So I know. Councilor Green is going to bring his chickens onto the float, so that should be fun.
I'm not going to be holding one.
You guys do a great job of it.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. So, anyone else?
I have a few things. I do want to thank our ministerial assistants for doing the National Day of Prayer for us in the farmers market. You did a great job, you and your team, and it's very nice. We had a medium-sized crowd, but I do feel like our community prays for us every day and prays for our community every day, so I feel really good about that. Also, May 15th is Peace Officers Memorial Day, and just to let you know, in 2024, there was 147 officers killed in line of duty, which is a 25% increase. We had the Tulsa Police Officers Memorial Service this past Saturday. In Tulsa, there's been 41 police officers that have been killed in the line of duty. I want to thank Chief Arnold, except for I think he stepped out. He attended the service as well, represented, and he didn't just sit in the audience. He actually placed a flower on behalf of a fallen officer. And I told him how much I appreciated that. I'm a trustee on the Tulsa Police Officers Memorial. But it did mean a lot that Broken Arrow was represented. And so I wanted to publicly thank him. And then also Tulsa County deputies will have a service May 15th. And since 1909, there has been 13 Tulsa County deputies killed in the line of duty. So thank you for your service, Counselor Deputy Green, and all of our law enforcement, Jack. Officer Oki, we appreciate your service as well. And then we had Camp Bandage was Saturday and was great fun. The weather was amazing. Kurt Klein does a great job with that. And I want to also thank whoever fixed the stairs on the lights on our stairs in City Council, because literally I worked for 20 years. I've been on council almost 5, and they've never worked to my recognition. So so thank you, whoever plugged those in. They look great. That's all I have.
We also had Fiesta de Mayo this weekend, which was a huge success as well. And if I might have a point of personal privilege, I'd like to wish my youngest son a happy birthday today before he goes to bed.
Happy
birthday,
son. Very nice. Oh, that's sweet. Yep, you're good, Daddy.
I might mention also, I didn't hear the mayor bring that up, but the Pioneer Dinner is on the Rooster Day on Saturday, right after the parade. And this year, it's going to be at the Senior Center, the new annex. So you're welcome to go. Used to, you had to be in Broken Arrow for 50 years. That's not a regulation anymore. Everybody is invited to it. So, you know, if you want to go to the chicken dinner, pay for your ticket. But the Pioneer Dinner, you meet a lot of the older people. That's older than me, people that's lived in Broken Arrow for all those years. So they will be there.
Yep.
Do you have to ride a covered wagon?
No, but you have to have been a covered wagon when you're small.
Copy that.
And I make that.
Okay.
And if you're looking for another gala to go to, Saturday night, a New Leaf is having a gala at River Spirit Casino. I don't know if they still have tickets yet or not. I mean, still have tickets or not, but that may be something you may want to check out.
I always love the galas. City Manager?
Just a couple of things. Yesterday I had lunch with the EDC team. We've been getting together on a quarterly basis and just making sure we have good communication. So we have our chamber president in the audience today. I want to express my appreciation for him and Amber being in there and talk about the many things they've got going on. And the next meeting on the 20th, he and Amber are coming to give their EDC update. And so they'll be here to give us an update. So I know they're excited to share with the governing body. Obviously, we're getting the monthly reports. But I can tell you, Eric Bonney, the president, and Ted Cundiff, we're just making sure a lot is going on. They have a number of prospects. Obviously, we're going to be talking about one for Arrow Forge at the next meeting. And they continued out there to do marketing with regard to Arrow Forge. So it's exciting. With regard to state matters, SB 701, which was the bill relating to allowing institutions such as NSU to petition the Board of Regents to become in their case, off first and second year classes, become that traditional public university here in Broken Arrow in the Tulsa region. It passed after much discussion and debate. 51 to 43 was the total. And I understand now that because there was an amendment, it will go back to the Senate for the Senate to review, discuss, and debate that bill. And so I know that James is working on coordinating making sure there's a lobbying effort on our part to get to our legislators. Obviously, that was a very close vote in the House. And so the Senate did pass it out, but with this amendment, it was clear there are some entities that are not in favor of having more choice for where they'd like to go to school, or folks to be able to choose to where they'd like to go to university or college. And so James will have more information. I'll get that to the council members when I have it. And so that's what I wanted to share with you this evening.
Okay, well, I do have one more thing. I thought the mayor may want to share, so I didn't want to step on her toes, but congratulations, City Manager Michael Spurgeon, for becoming TCC's new Board of Regents, I guess is that the right way? Yeah. 11-0. It was unanimous, of course. He was in Oklahoma City today, and congratulations. And they've got a good person, obviously, and we're glad that you're there representing the city of Broken Arrow as well. Congratulations.
Well, I appreciate the council's support because I couldn't do it without your help. And what I'm more humbled about is the fact that you now have the superintendent of schools on the Russo board, and then you have my position on TCC, which is the third largest student institution in the state of Oklahoma. And so I think it benefits both of us to be a part what's happening in the conversations. It's just an extension of what's happening in Broken Arrow, so I'm humbled.
Advocating on our behalf,
Yes.
yep.
Is Jim Beaver still on that, or?
Jim Beavers is still on
So
there.
we've got two
So
people
we have
from
two.
Broken Arrow.
We now have two
Okay.
Broken Arrow folks.
Last but not least, the greatest class of LBA graduates tomorrow.
Yes.
My class was the
2025. Well, was, past tense.
Oh, is.
I will say too, I was honored to be Justin's, Counselor Green's mentor. And I did stay on him to make sure he got all of his requirements met. I didn't have to work too hard, but he got it done. He's an A-plus student, of course.
Yes, of
And
course.
this class is really molded and really they came together. What are you saying?
We have seven. We have seven that are graduating tomorrow,
city,
including
yeah.
Counselor Green from the city. It's an excellent class, just like we usually have 5 to 7. Now you have to go to, unless you're a director, you have to go through Kobe U in order to be eligible. And so it's exciting to see that folks are learning and then moving on to learn more by the chamber's perspective.
Yeah, you're gonna have a hard time picking out who's gonna go next year, because people are already saying, okay, I've gone through Kobe U, so I hope I get into LBA next year.
Yeah.
So that's good, it's exciting.
That's a good thing.
Is that all?
One last, just kidding.
No. Sorry, sir, we're done. Entertain a motion to take a brief recess to go into Bama.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Pickle,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Parks.
Yes.
Wimpy.
Yes. Call the Broken Arrow Municipal Authority to order. Roll call.
Pickle,
Here.
Green,
Here.
Ford,
Here.
Parks.
Here.
Wimpy.
Here. Item N is being pulled for discussion. Are there any other items to be removed?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as stands minus item N.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call. Item N is approval of and authorization to execute change order number 1 with Cherokee Pride for Melinda Park Water and Sewer Line Rehabilitation. Charlie Bright.
Good evening again, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, trustees, and General Manager. Charlie Bright, I'm the Director of Engineering and Construction. So this item is a change order for the work going on inside Melinda Park. It is a time-only change order, it's not a money change order, which I understand as being the concern and why I wanted to talk about it. Their contract time was supposed to be done about right now. There's a lot of challenges that the contractor, I think, has been a great partner with to overcome. The official reason for the time in the change order is twofold. One, we had some delays due to water outages and trouble. We had trouble turning off the water for some connections over on Garnett Street. And then we tried to coordinate those water outages with the school timing there. So we delayed the contractor some on the ability to shut off the water on Garnett Street was one of the reasons. And then two, we had some more challenges acquiring easements in backyards of some of the property owners that we needed to dig trenches through their yards. It's an old neighborhood, it's a very unique neighborhood, and on the yards on one side of the neighborhood, the easements weren't on the back property line, they were actually closer to the house. And so we acquired new easements to go farther away from their house, but 3 or 4 of those houses, we had a lot of challenges getting those easements. We thought we'd get them a little faster, but we delayed the contractor in getting those easements. So those are the two really official reasons why the change order for time is here. But reality, our contractor's gone above and beyond doing a lot of things. When we talk about a development like this, you know, I think it's about 50 years old. There's a lot of challenges overcoming doing work in those areas, and I got a list of a few of them. I mean, one, we ran into several issues where homeowners had buried pets in the backyard, and we actually took the time, our contractor took the time to move those for them in a manner that they were. We had
That's going above and beyond.
we had a lot of issues.
It is.
And this is why I feel it's good to be a good partner to the contractor and give them time. We had a lot of issues where sheds were in the way in the easements. And by our ordinances and just the law, they're responsible to get out of our easement. And we could have taken that hard stance and get out of the easement. But a lot of people, that's not easy. They can't afford it or whatever else. And if they don't, we have the right to basically move it for them. And damages are on them. But our contractor's actually gone above and beyond and moved them for them in a manner that is safe and puts it back in a good position. He didn't get paid for that. He had no responsibility to do that, and he's been doing it for them. And then there's a few houses where there's actually been the clean outs and the service lines into some elderly folks, some elderly residential homes have been in bad shape, where they actually needed some work on their side and the plumber. Our contractor's gone and done those for free and no charge to the homeowners, and that's their line. They didn't charge Broken Arrow, they did not charge the homeowner. So there's just been a lot of challenges going through people's backyards and everything else. It is not easy working in these conditions. I do understand it's a mess. People are tired of dealing with it, but we are making it better for them, and we're starting the cleanup process. So.
Actually, I haven't got any complaints except for when are we going to start the road?
Yep.
That's been going on for 5 years, if not longer. I just drive through there quite often. It's at 61st and Garnett, for those of you that may or may not know where Melinda Park is. And it was a mess, but honestly, I haven't got a lot of complaints, but it just seems like it's been going on for a long time. So I'm glad to see that I know there was challenges because it is an old neighborhood, and that's what I kept telling residents at the beginning is like, we're not going to put new streets down just to tear them up and, do the water. So 99.9% of the people were totally okay with that. So anyway, this is kind of just to get on top, just to let them have an update and see
Absolutely.
where we are. Then.
So I'm glad to hear you have not been getting a lot of complaints. I've been getting a lot of complaints about just it being a mess, them tired of dealing with it, which I understand completely, but when you're going in and redoing utilities in the middle of a neighborhood like this that's existing with a lot of obstacles in the way, it is not easy work. Every day is a new challenge, a new obstacle. So it's time consuming, but we're getting close to wrapping it up.
Can you please let the contractor know how much we appreciate him taking the time and doing
Absolutely.
the things, especially for our elderly constituents on fixed incomes. I know they've got to be appreciative of that too,
Yep,
but
absolutely.
I appreciate the update, Charlie. Thank you. We're freezing.
Freezing, like I'm warming up by my computer over here. Okay, Charlie, I think really when we've met with the communities or the neighborhoods, they do appreciate that we do those town halls and we tell them what's going to be expected and.
So we've really pushed those and grown them more this year, just so you all know. It's worked with a lot of residents. We're still getting a lot of complaints saying, oh, you didn't tell me, you didn't do this. And I'm like, well, here's a picture of a flyer on your door. Here's the letter that went to your mailbox. I can only do so much. My team is working on strategies to try to get it out more. I think we're going to start posting signage at the front of their neighborhood prior to the meeting, telling them about it, because I think we've reduced the number of complaints, but there's still a lot of people complaining saying they didn't know about the meeting, which I can only try to tell you so many ways.
No, I think you guys have gone above and beyond, and do an amazing job of trying to get the word out.
Yep, I appreciate
as we
that.
improve their neighborhoods.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice when it's finished. It's gonna be really nice. It just I don't even know when we started, but it's been a while. But
It has been, and we're working on getting the roadways ready to go. There'll be a little bit of a delay, but we'll get there as quick as we can.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yep.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion to approve item N in the consent agenda.
Second?
The motion and a second, roll call. All right, we have no public hearings, appeals, presentation, recognitions, or awards. No general authority business. Remarks by governing body members. City manager?
I have just one, Madam Chair. I wanted to mention at around 10:15 Thursday morning, Mr. Schwab, Mr. Bright, Patrick Wilson, and I are going out. I think Tim Wilson is going as well to meet with Mr. Fletcher, who came to the council meeting a couple meetings ago about Spring Creek.
Yep.
We went to the Drainage Committee recently about an issue that we need to address. According to what Mr. Schwab has told me, we're going to go out and we're going to meet with a number of residents and continue our discussion to look how we can make sure the developer's in compliance and share that information or any issues, hear what they make sure they're being heard, and then we'll come back and give the council members an update.
Yeah, we've gotten so much rain, even since like he first came and talked to us. I can
only imagine.
Yeah.
I know,
I was gonna
even
see.
today.
So I apologize, I meant to mention at council meeting, but we've been communicating. We'll go out and see him I think 10:15.
Okay.
I want that the council member know that we'll be out there, and I'll update all the council members about it, so.
Awesome.
We have no executive session.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
A motion and a second. Roll call. Call the Broken Arrow Economic Development Authority to order. Roll call.
Pickle?
Here.
Green?
Here.
Ford?
Here?
Parks?
Here.
Wimpy?
Here. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Roll call. Nope.
Oh, now you moved it. John, you may have to second. He tried to
Okay.
second it, but it went away.
All right. There are no public hearings, appeals, presentations, recognitions, or awards. No general authority business. Remarks by governing body members. City manager?
I do have just a couple. I wanted to just reiterate that the EDC will be here at the next meeting. We'll also be discussing an economic development agreement that we have. That's two things, and I want to thank the council for their support of the consent agenda item 3E, which is a non-binding letter that we will continue to look at that opportunity. I just want to let the council know it is right now, there is no commitment on part of the city, but it's really just, we're in this due diligence phase, which it's our opportunity to look at all aspects of this potential partnership, learn more about it to see if it's something that would be beneficial for Broken Arrow. I think there's a long way to go until we are at that point, but I do think that this next step is important, so thank you for at least approving that, and I'll keep the council posted and probably have more information next meeting or certainly in June.
Okay. No executive session.
Motion to adjourn?
Second. Oh, no, you got it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Mr. Parks? There you go.
I make a motion to clear the room and go into executive session for city council.
Second.
The motion and a second. Roll call.
Pickle?
Here.
Green?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes.